I think it depends on how your teams play. I would have gone for it there, just to be clear. I thought they should have, but I think it just depends on how you feel your team is going at that point. And he obviously felt he was better off punting. I
He's
wouldn't do it. I would have gone for it.
he's had some rough fourth quarters of big games,
Yeah, he
hasn't
has.
he? And I think he's a really good coach, by the way,
I do
Kyle
too.
Shanahan.
But those people in San Francisco do not like. They've been calling for him. He is under delivered. He's all these different things you see in headline fashion. Man, it's tough. They've gotten deep into the playoffs a few years under him, and it's never good enough. That's the thing about it. It's never good enough. It seems. It's criticism every single year, regardless.
I know.
And not many people thought they'd be in this position. By the way, they barely qualified. Didn't they? Were they the last team to get into the NFC?
I think so.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
people were wondering why. It's not worth it. They made a pretty good push, and I thought they should have won that game yesterday.
I mean, I think he's made a pretty decent run of it with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, come on. They won
NFC
13
championship?
Yeah, how many playoff games have they won with Jimmy G? They won 2 this year. They won at least 2 the year they went to the Super Bowl. So, again, that's one more than the Steelers in the last 11 years. With Jimmy G as your quarterback, all these people, by the way, why don't you go ahead with your stat you had, your odds, Bob, that you read during the break? Didn't it say Jimmy G was the
Yeah, if you're looking at odds, this is according to Caesars. If you're looking for odds for the next Steeler quarterback of the guys mentioned, Jimmy G is the favorite to end up in Pittsburgh, which I would not do. But according to this, Washington would be second on the list.
I'm a hard pass on Jimmy G as well. The price and the quality. You saw.
Plus, he's not a free agent, right? You got to trade for him.
Right.
So, what are you going to give up for him? I'd be more willing to do your course and go with, if I'm going to trade and use assets, I'm going to go all out then. I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. But again, I don't think they're going to do that. But I wouldn't give a lot for him.
The 49ers worked out with the cast of people they were able to build around Jimmy Garoppolo. Not to say Jimmy Garoppolo is a bad quarterback. I don't think that at all. But he was helped so much by the people around him. Bring him to Pittsburgh, where there are significantly fewer quality players around him. I don't think you're going to get much of a difference than what we've been seeing or what you already have on your roster.
Yeah, I'm a hard pass on him as well. All these people jumping to his defense after this playoff, after his first 2. I understand they're in the NFC Championship game, but if you couldn't see that they were there largely in spite of him rather than because of him, I don't know what you're looking at. Richard Sherman defended him. Obviously, his teammates are going to defend him. His current teammates are going to defend him. But you have people like Sherman coming out of the woodwork saying all this guy does is win. I mean, can we analyze it a little deeper than that? He almost gave away the Cowboys game.
Yeah, terrible throw.
And for they won the Dallas game on the next week they won in Green Bay on a block punt. Right?
Yes.
Why do we think the
Block
odds
punt.
are so high for what is the attraction between
his record.
Steelers and Jimmy G?
Everybody points to his record. But as you said, and I agree, it's more been the talent around him, especially I think defensively they've been really good at times. And then Kyle Shanahan, I think, is an excellent run game schemer. Let me go back to their Super Bowl year. And I'll tell you how many times they actually threw the ball. You remember that? When they went to the Super Bowl with him?
Yeah, they ran it. They
almost
used the run
every
game.
Play.
Yeah, and they keep coming up with running backs who are successful there.
So we can talk all day about how Jimmy G wins. They went into Green Bay the year they went to the Super Bowl, and they blew them out 37-20. He was 6 for 8 for 70 yards in the game. You're telling me they didn't win in spite of him? They didn't even use him in that game.
It was all run.
And then he had one play to make in the Super Bowl and didn't make it, and they lost because of that, I think. Right?
Yes.
And in the first game, he was 10 for 11.
Plus the cost involved is just too much.
What? He threw the ball 19 times in their 2 playoff games.
Combined?
Yes.
That tells
there
me
you go.
that the strength of the team is not your quarterback, and he's more of a game manager. And listen, he can do that fine. And that's what I'm sort of expecting from the Steelers this year, is a game manager in Mason Rudolph. If they're not going to make any plays, whether that's draft or free agency, then they're going to have to put together a team that can run the ball well, and that'll help in their planning moving forward. When they do, if they don't want to, land on Mason Rudolph, somebody else in the future. If you have all those components in place, you can then, look to strike.
That's going to be a tough. Is it row to hoe or road to hoe? It's row to hoe.
Road
right?
to hoe.
Because I think scheme-wise, Shanahan is brilliant. It's a quick hit, fast run game. Does Matt Canada, are you inspired even if they get a couple pieces on the offensive line, this is going to become a great running team? Even with Najee? I'm not.
I hope so. I mean, that's got to be their play. They wouldn't have given that selection of him in the first round if they didn't think that he was going to be their bell cow for many years. And they're going to have to make sure they have enough on the offensive line to help him out.
And I want that for him. I think he
for
deserves
Najee?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you can have a decent line and a star running back and still not reach your potential because of your scheme.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And because of the way the league is headed.
Let me tell you one more play quickly. We're going to go to a Bob showdown at the top of the hour, which the entire galaxy, I think, is looking forward to. Not
everyone
just
but Bob.
Everyone but Bob in the entire galaxy. And that was the taunting call that I lost my mind on Twitter again. It was a 17-7 game. 17-7 in your conference championship. A lot of people said, oh, you're not going to see taunting in the playoffs. I've now seen it 3 times, and it affected every game. The Rams are sputtering. They have a decent first down play from deep in their own territory, and the referee comes in and calls taunting because one guy got in another guy's face and said something. That puts them at the 47. The game was never the same. The game was never the same after that. After that BS.
It was a call. It's like that rule. I know what they planned with it, but it's a failure. They should get rid of it.
It sucks,
because
Bob.
There's no way to determine what really is taunting.
You
or what
had
isn't
Robbie
taunting.
Gould and Jalen Ramsey in each other's faces at the end of the first half.
Right.
I don't know who
How
started.
about Tyreek Hill? He
Hill
did one last
week.
week, and he didn't get called, but he got fined later.
That was the
doesn't
whole
matter.
reason the taunting emphasis came down.
Because he did it
yes,
with the peace sign.
You read Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports wrote it at the beginning of the year, had sources on the committee saying it was the Tyreek Hill thing because he did it in a regular season game against the 49ers, made the peace sign or whatever it is that he's making. And then you had, was it Winfield? Somebody in the Super Bowl went up to him and made the same sign and got called for taunting. And they said, we can't have that. We can't have this revenge stuff. We can't have this embarrassing stuff. And then he got away with it against the Bills in that title game. And yesterday, we all watched both games. There's guys jawing at each other in their face the whole time.
But that's part of the game.
I
It's
know.
emotional.
Exactly.
Passionate.
So why call it?
Unless it's very obvious that some derogatory whatever, you can make that determination.
How derogatory does
I'm talking about a gesture,
how much more
not
derogatory than the F word can you get?
I'm not talking about language. I'm talking about gesturing.
I didn't see any gesture.
I
from
didn't
the
either.
dude
That's
on
why,
the
to
nine.
me, I don't care what they say. That's what goes on down there. Who cares?
Who cares is right.
So
Shelby?
just let him play.
Do you think you need to have something in your back pocket in terms of a penalty for something very egregious?
Sure.
For something
that was already on the books.
Something incredibly offensive or something
Yes.
that's inexcusable?
You get up,
They did call that. They have called that without
that's
the
been on the
without the
books.
benefit of a rule.
Right. You get up
it's
in a
called
guy's
unsportsmanlike conduct, and that's
Right.
what they do.
Yeah, you stand like Juju over Burfict, much as I loved it. That's taunting. A guy's knocked out on the field and you stand over him. That we all know what taunting looks like. It's not raising the peace sign when you're at the 5-yard line and a guy goes in, but they wanted to make it that way, and then they wanted to have this taunting emphasis where if you said a magic word or something that the ref happened to hear, by the way, or observe, you're going to change a conference championship game. Same way as they changed the Rams and Bucks game last week by calling it on Ndamukong Suh. That was a huge play.
It was a huge play. Yeah, it was.
I'm tired of it.
That's not, and it's so sporadically used. You don't know what they're going to call, what they're not going to call.
Right.
They miss calls all the time because of it. They're putting too much emphasis on the officials, and I think their job's hard enough. And then you're going to let them determine what is a taunt.
Why even worry
Yeah,
about
why
it?
even worry about it? Give them one less thing to worry about, unless it's something so
Right.
And
hellaciously
something
bad.
that the three of us can sit here and analyze and watch a replay 30 times over. They have to make a judgment call right there on the spot. It's almost never going to be right or agreeable. And personally, I know this is sort of a divided opinion, but I don't mind sort of the getting in each other's faces.
No, I don't
and
either.
I don't mind the peace sign and the funny gestures. I think it adds to it. I think it's emotional and players are going to have a difficult time regulating that in the moment. God, in my rec league volleyball game, if I get a good block, I might scream across the net.
Right.
Who knows? It's stupid and I probably shouldn't do it, but it's funny and it's fun in the moment. And now multiply that by a billion times on an NFL football field in the playoffs. Why not?
Yeah, I have no problem with it.
It's a
I don't.
violent, emotional game.
I'd love to hear some of the stuff. We had my wireless mics back in the day when Earl Weaver was manager of the Baltimore Orioles. You should have heard him.
Right.
And they just had exchanges with umpires that wasn't even he wasn't ejected for things that today they would have been
It's
immediate.
so
They just let them
unnecessary.
talk. They get into each other. They say what they got to say, and okay.
It's okay.
It's all right, yeah.
A quick jawing like
It's not
that
gonna
guy
make a
yesterday.
difference.
No, it doesn't
And
matter.
then this is also getting to baseball. It's happened too much in baseball where these umpires are so sensitive. Come on now. You let them talk a little bit. There's
Yeah.
no harm in that.
Bob's Showdown coming up next. An entire galaxy waiting with bated breath.